You are a mom with pelvic organ prolapse and you're trying to decide, do I go to therapy? Do I get a pessary? Kind of what do I do? I've been playing around lately with some over-the-counter hacks, and one of them has been using a menstrual disc. And what I've found is, like, menstrual discs, if you kind of grew up with them, they're not a big deal. Those of sort of my vintage, I would say, we're not as used to using them, but basically they're just discs. It's almost like a little bit of a pessary. It doesn't have as much stiffness or support, but it might be a great way to test out to see if you have some support, whether it's going to mitigate any of your prolapse symptoms. So the symptoms that we're talking about are pressure, heaviness in the pelvic region. And sometimes that can actually get a little bit worse around the time of your period. So using something like a menstrual disc, I had a client, she tried one of the salt ones. I think it's like SAALT, and you can get them at Walgreens or CVS or things like that. And she put it in and she's like, wow, immediately she noticed a huge change in symptoms. And so what we're doing is we're trying them in certain contexts. So this one particular patient, she's like, hey, when I have a cold that won't quit, if I have an asthma attack and the air quality outside is shit, which has basically been like once every couple of weeks around here, if she has like kind of a flare onset of those symptoms, she's been popping it in and it's been giving great support. And remarkably, one of those times happened to be around her period. And usually her period, she would overflow on a tampon, or the tampon would come out, or it's a whole big thing. And it actually mitigated that too. So a menstrual disc is a great kind of option to give a try. The other thing I think a lot of people are more dialed into is the Impressa, and it's by Poise. Basically, it looks like a tampon insert. It looks like a tampon with an applicator, but you need to get the sizing kit. I've seen people ask like, hey, which one do I use? And you just have to get the sizing kit first. I think you can get it on Amazon for like $7-8. Figure out which one's going to stay in. This works the best if you have leakage. It also works for like urethra hypermobility or things like that. Leakage with running, jumping. It puts a little bit of compression or pressure on the urethra, but I have had clients that it gives the bladder a little bit of support. The third thing you may want to try is just putting in a tampon and giving that vaginal wall some support. And again, you want to make sure that the tissues are healthy. They have, good moisture to them. It's not, scratchy, nasty, uncomfortable. And if they are, talk to your GYN about hormones. DM me if you don't know what I'm talking about there. But those are 3 really easy over-the-counter options that you can use to try and mitigate some pelvic floor symptoms. And here's the thing. If you find that it improves any heaviness or pressure or leakage, but you want something that's a little bit more reusable, if that makes any sense, then you have a good sense of, hey, I could do really well with a pessary, and then reach out to your GYN or your local pelvic floor PT that find out first if they fit pessaries. Not everybody does. To get something that's a little bit more supportive and meant to use for that purpose. But I more than ever, I think there's options that moms can get to figure out, hey, is this something that's going to work for me? And then once you have that information, then you can give it to a provider, and they're going to have a much better sense of what's going to work best for you. So if you've tried any of those things, whether it's a menstrual disc or tampons or the Impressa or any online purchase of, there's a bunch of options for pessaries that you can get online that are not individually fit. If you've tried any of those, hop in my DMs, let me know how it went, because I'd love to hear if there's things that I'm not thinking about. And if it's something that you haven't tried and you want a little bit more guidance, definitely DM me. I'm happy to kind of help you navigate that through a little bit, or the things that I commonly do with my clients. But I'm finding that it's a great way to start to get a better sense of kind of how your pelvic floor symptoms or your prolapse symptoms are going to respond and set you up for success. So give it a try and definitely hop in my DMs. Have a good one. And yes, I'm hiding in the bathroom.